I've got a beautiful looking watch on the channel today. It's an absolute looker. This thing here looks the business. The design language, the way the subdial for the running seconds is placed at the 10 o'clock, the intricate detail of those applied Arabics, it just works. Even that hand wound movement, the Unitas ETA 6497, it just works. But in saying that, it's not without its flaws. There are a couple of little things that I'd love to see changed on this watch because the design language and layout is absolutely beautiful. It's Swiss made, it comes in at around 2,000 Australian dollars. Let's check this thing out. Welcome back guys. The watch that I've got in my hand is called the Cimier Petite Seconde. It's actually the second Cimier that I've reviewed on the channel. The first one was a retrograde, beautifully finished, amazing watch, and this thing here is finished in the exact same way. So I want to thank Cimier for sending this out for us to have a look at because the design language I really like. I actually love the dial on this watch, but not only the layout, the detail. There's so much beautiful stuff going on here that unless you actually stop to look and study it, you miss it all. And I'll give you an example. If you look at the dial, the top three Arabics, the 10, the 12 and the 2, if you look closely at them, they're actually bigger at the top and smaller at the bottom. So they seem to make their way into the center of that dial. And the bottom Arabics, the 8, 6 and 4, are exactly the same but in the reverse order. So they're bigger at the bottom and thinner at the top. Now that's a little quirk and detail that you pick up after a couple of days of having this watch and thinking, gee, that's interesting, that's nice. But not only that, looking at the dial, you can see there's subdials. There's a subdial, a running seconds at the 10 o'clock. That's why it's called the Petite Seconde. But it's also got a central section which is slightly off center, and that balances out with that 10 o'clock subdial. And at the outside, you can see a chapter ring with minute markers all the way around. So legibility wise, this watch works, and it works really well. And the color palette, what I think they've chosen from a beautiful matte blue to a silver opaline, sort of a ivory color, it just works. So hats off to the design team on that dial. Really impressed. Now I did say that the watch is not without its flaws, and what I meant by that was the dimensions of the watch for me are too big. Personally, I would love to see this in a slightly smaller size. Now I'll show you the movement at the intro. This watch features a Unitas ETA 6497-1. And for those who know the movement, these were originally designed for pocket watches. So they're a relatively big movement, and manufacturers like Panerai have used the same movement in their watches. It basically beats at 18,800 vibrations per hour, around 44 hours power reserve, and it's a non-hacking movement. But the winding experience on this movement is sublime. Have a listen to this. That is wonderful. There's a beautiful resistance pushing back as I wind this watch. In fact, let me turn this over and show you guys something. You can just see on the central wheel that as I turn this, the ratcheting system is what's making that noise as you wind up that mainspring. That is wonderful. So the resistance is lovely, and you can feel the quality of the Swiss movement. Very nice, very nicely executed. Now in saying that, because this movement was originally designed for pocket watches, it is a slightly bigger movement, rendering the case slightly larger. That's why Panerai uses movements like this in some of their earlier watches. Now the dimensions of the watch, I measure a case diameter of exactly 43 millimeters. The lug to lug is 51.6 mil. We have a case height of 11.3 mil and a lug width 21 mil. Now the crown is a signed push-pull crown. It's 5.9 millimeters and it offers 50 meters of water resistance, and the total weight of this watch comes in at exactly 96 grams. And as you can see on my 18 centimeter wrist, the watch is just fitting in without overhanging with those lugs. The case height itself is lovely, coming in at 11.3 mil, and the comfort I've found on this particular strap has been superb. So it's genuine leather, the deploying clasp is good. In fact, the deploying clasp is one of the features that a lot of people get this wrong. You see, normally we're used to pushing a deploying clasp and close. This one doesn't work that way. This particular one here, I've had experience that you have to push it and it closes. You push, it opens, you push and it closes. So normally I'll show you guys something. There's an Omega, and normally with standard deploying clasps, you just push it and it locks in and it opens. Whereas with this particular one here, what I found is that you have to press the actual twin triggers to release, but you also have to press them to lock it in. It's a smooth transition. It's really smooth. If you try to force it, you'll probably damage it. So that's one of the little quirks that I think Cimier should put on their website to describe that, because the pleasure of opening and closing is wonderful, but it's got to be done the right way. Now, some of you guys are probably thinking, hang on, Pete, did you just show us a new watch? Is that a new watch alert? Yes, it is. I purchased this because of a challenge. A couple of my viewers actually challenged me to buy a brand new Omega because in the video that I did just recently, there were certain things about the new models that I don't like, and some of you guys said to me, Pete, you haven't given the current generation a proper go. You got to wear it on your wrist. You got to live it. And I thought, you know what, I'll take up the challenge. So I bought a brand new Omega, review coming, but we're not here for this, guys. We're here for this. Now, the watch features a very subtle double dome sapphire crystal, and it's doing a wonderful job. It's got AR on the underside. Even the case back is a sapphire crystal. I've tested both of them. They're definitely sapphire. The case, as you've probably noticed, is fully polished everywhere except for the top of the lugs. The top of the lugs feature a fine vertical brushing just to break it up and give it some nice lines. Now, with all watches, there are positives and negatives, and for me, the biggest negative of this particular watch is the size, because I feel that it would have been I love the design. I love what I'm looking at here. The legibility has been great. The look has been really nice. In fact, the contrasting matte blue, the Arabics themselves, the applied Arabics, they're actually diamond cut. They're highly polished. They look amazing. They really pop. The look of the dial, the attention to detail has been fantastic. I just would love to see this in a smaller package, be it a 39mm, potentially 40, and a different movement. Obviously, you can't fit this movement in a smaller watch. Second potential negative, the crown's at 4 o'clock. I was going to pick on this because I thought maybe it would have been nicer for a crown at 3, but looking at the design, the way that the actual subdial is at 10, that corresponds to the 4. It's nice. It really works. And I know why they've done that. If they'd placed that at the actual 3 o'clock, you would have had the subdial at the 9. I think they would have lost that balance. Also, by placing the crown at the 3 o'clock, obviously you're going to rotate the movement and that's going to go down to the 9 o'clock. I get it, but I think that being a large size case, it would have extended that even further. Just like Panerai, it would have extended the case quite large, quite bigger. So they've designed it in a way to bring it down, to make it more streamlined. I see what they've done. But in winding, it's not an issue. It's down the bottom. I prefer it here, but yeah, because it's such a big crown, such a nice knurling, I haven't had issues with winding. It's quirky, it's different, it's nice. I like what they've done. So stylistically and aesthetically, they've really thought this out and they've done it well. Very handsome watch. I like what I'm looking at. And the last negative, that deploying clasp, I think Cimier should put in their instructions, press the buttons to close it, press the buttons to open it. That's just a given, because trying to force this, I can see the way they've engineered it, you'll probably damage it. And lastly, being a highly polished watch, it is a fingerprint magnet. You're going to find fingerprints all over this. You're continually cleaning it. Moving over to the positives, the look is beautiful. In my eyes, the balance, the detail, what I'm seeing, the finishing is very, very good, especially at this price point. This comes in at 1,400 Swiss francs, which converts to about 2,100 Australian dollars. So a very nicely finished watch, excellent detail, especially in that dial. The printing is very crisp, the handset clean, even the movement is finished to a nice level. For a sporty dress watch, it's beautiful. It just would have been lovely to be a little bit smaller, just to be able to cater for a vast variety of wrists. But I wanted to get this on the channel, guys. It's the Cimier Petite Secondes. Let me know what you think. Gorgeous looking dial, excellent massive sapphire exhibition caseback to showcase that unitas. I think they've done it well. I think the design language on the dial is very well thought out. And it's not a boring watch. It's something that you can look at throughout the day and create a pleasing visual aesthetic. It is a satisfying experience. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. Leave me your thoughts. Let me know what you think about this watch, the Cimier Petite Secondes. I'll leave the links in the description. Hit me up in the comment section, and we'll see you all in the next video.